The Horus Heresy changed everything. Its dramatic ending at the Siege of Terra somehow changed even more. The Loyalists won the Civil War, technically, but victory and defeat are, at this point, really interchangeable, undefinable things. By the time Horus fell, the price of the Loyalist victory had become so total that survival, which is really what we must define as victory, just mirrors the consequences of defeat. The Emperor, for most intents and purposes, is dead. He is a silent, rotting passenger in a machine he created but no longer controls. He exists in a permanent state of agony tied to the Golden Throne, while the former grandeur of the palace around him is gutted and refitted in mad panic. Ancient art, relics, and devices, the pinnacle of human cultural achievement and the representation of its potential, are smothered, replaced, or forgotten beneath a choking mass of pipes, cables, power systems, and new crude machines all strapped together in desperation to keep him alive and to keep the throne from failing. Worse still is the uncertainty surrounding how he came to be there. Carried back in Dawn's arms from his costly duel with Horus aboard the Vengeful Spirit, the Emperor is said to have weakly whispered a single word to his son before his placement on the throne. Now. Or maybe it was no. You see, Dawn could not be sure of what he heard from his father's mangled mouth in those final moments. All he could know for certain was what he could see. The expression etched across what was left of the Emperor's ruined features. Terror. Terror of the purest kind. The final emotion that he felt as he forced out that last unknowable word. If it was now, then the sacrifice is at least purposeful. It means Dawn acted correctly. It suggests that the Emperor's fate, as terrible as it is, was necessary. Part of a plan, or the only path left, and the Emperor knew what was to come and embraced it anyway. If it was no, then that means the Emperor was placed on the throne against his will, that his endless suffering was forced upon him and not planned or chosen. It means that there may have been another option, something better or more effective, something lost in the chaos of those final moments. Or worse still, it means that the Emperor understood exactly what was coming and tried, in his last few seconds of semi-lucid freedom, to refuse it, either out of fear, disbelief, or resignation. Malcador the hero, formerly the Sigillite and Imperial Regent, is very much dead in every sense of the word. With his death goes any real hope of restoring the Emperor's dream or for the continuation of his plans as it was intended. Malcador understood. He had been there from the beginning. He helped lay the Imperium's foundations, wrote its laws, shaped its systems, its institutions and economies. With the Emperor's silence and without Malcador's weight of wisdom, experience and authority, the Imperium is left to drift and stagnate. It falls into the hands of mortal bureaucrats ruling in blindness, men and women with no real understanding of what they have inherited, consumed by position, advancement, and the machinery of power for its own sake. What escapes this surge of baseline human political control falls instead to Guilliman, and Guilliman, despite the scale of the catastrophe, seems almost too comfortable in it, too eager to take control of the situation, and too happy to pat himself on the back for his delayed intervention. The Imperium is salvaged, rebuilt, and reshaped to align with his own interpretation of the Emperor's design. The Imperium of Man according to Guilliman, enforced by the fact that the Ultramarines remain the only legion with the depth of strength to impose it. The resources of his 500 worlds keep the population fed and the armies equipped, and that reality carries its own authority, regardless of the disagreement of his brothers and their growing resentment for him, and in spite of everything they sacrificed waiting for his timely arrival. Terra is no longer Terra, and it never will be again. The world is cracked open, desecrated, poisoned through and through. Radiation bleeding out of cratered cities of rusted ruins, wastelands stretching to the horizon, fields of corpses and waterfalls of blood. Literally. Its people, the true Terrans, are gone in every way that matters. Those who survived the slaughter and devastation, those scattered, traumatized millions, are destined to live out their days in sickness, riddled by cancers, wounds, and deformities caused by the scale of Horus's destruction. Off-worlders arrive in their place, many drawn from Gilliman's realm, foreigners speaking foreign languages, carrying different customs, largely untouched and indifferent toward the price of this victory, for their emperor, the new emperor in all but name, Gilliman the Avenging Sun, thrives in the reconstruction and sits ascended. These newcomers walked the ruins of humanity's cradle without respect for what was lost, pointing at the scorched foundations and speaking eagerly of what wonders they will build over the bones. Eager inheritors with tools stamped with the symbols of Ultramar, ready to scrub clean the identity of Terra and pave it over with a new one. Everything was changed by the war, and the legions, the Astartes as an individual, these are no exception. The heresy, in both its nature and its consequences, made one thing certain. It could never be allowed to happen again. Not at the hands of the Astartes. In the aftermath of the siege, Astartes became objects of blame as much as anything else by all sides, their legacy tarnished by the destruction their kind had brought about on those they were made to protect, and for what nightmares they had made real. Many came to believe that they never should have been created at all, and many dedicated themselves secretly to removing them from all positions of influence. So the Astartes had to change, and not at the Legion level as Gilman brought about through the Codex, but at the level of the individual. The weapons and armor are much the same, as are some formations and tactical divisions, but crucial elements have undergone lasting transformation. Their minds are not what they were, their dispositions are not what they were. Their imaginations, which before had been much as free as ours, have been curtailed. Their judgment on matters outside war has been limited. They are now both less and greater than the baseline human, a weapon forged solely against corruption. The war marked the end of what might be called the human Astartes. The heresy had shown to all what such beings were capable of when granted almost the full breadth of human thought and feeling. Pride, ambition, curiosity, jealousy, resentment, these had been the animating forces behind the treachery of the legions and their primarchs. They are, of course, recognizably human flaws and desires, and that was exactly the problem. When you combine these things with transhuman bodies of incredible strength, speed, power, and intelligence, such traits become extremely dangerous. So these traits, and much more, were pared back. In the reconstruction, under order of the Loyalist Primarchs, aspirants and Astartes candidates underwent harsher psychological trials and far more invasive mental conditioning. Hypno-indoctrination increased significantly. Memory was reshaped and basic human instinct totally reprogrammed. Humanity, as many would understand it, was removed, carved away, and replaced with something more sterile, predictable, and controllable. The Astartes created from these new processes are different from those that came before. Their spectrum of emotions is narrowed. They have been conditioned to react viscerally, violently, to the symbols of the new enemy. The Eye of Horus, the eight-pointed star, the various icons of the ruinous powers and the forces that serve them. The mere thought of such things even existing now provokes immediate disgust, anger, and hatred for the new breed. Yet this refinement, or maybe sterilization is a better word, has come at a cost. They are slower to laugh, and when they do, it is hollow. Humor, as baseline humans understand it, now will often escape them entirely. Conversation is purely functional, stripped of depth, nuance, and the small human things that help build deep relationships and counter the all-consuming experience of transhuman dread that so often takes hold. They struggle to understand why mortals, the ones they exist to serve and protect, cling to things that are confusing and seemingly redundant. Love and art for one, but also those other traits now taken and denied to them. Where the more cultured among the earlier Astartes might have questioned, speculated, and debated, even on things like morality, philosophy, and theology, their successors are simpler. Thought is focused and direct. A new Astartes battle brother is not to dwell on the complexities of what he is fighting for, only what he must do. They are more focused now, more resilient to corruption, less susceptible to the flaws that led to the most destructive civil war in history. But they have lost much of their individuality, much of their humanity, even if they still remain just as deadly, maybe more so, and harder to turn from their course. But there is something in the nature of this transformation that makes it especially tragic. The reduction of something once complex and multifaceted into little more than that of a living weapon. Those who reconquered the galaxy would not, despite superficial similarities, be the ones who had first won it for humanity. The ones who carry that burden forward, who fight to preserve what little hope there is left for the Emperor's dream, or who convince themselves it can still somehow be realized, are lesser things in a way that is difficult to explain. There is a hollowness to them, a sense that something critical has been cut out, never to be replaced, leaving them a step too close to the classification of a high-performing servitor. A servitor does not question its task because it cannot. Through surgeries, implants, and programming, the very ability to do so has literally been removed. An Astartes, on the other hand, does not question his task because, increasingly, there is little within him that compels him to do so. Through surgeries, implants, and programming, the impulse to ask the question no longer even occurs to him. In its fear of repeated betrayal, the Imperium has taken its once greatest warriors and reshaped them into instruments that echo the logic of its most horrific creations, eroding away just one more aspect of the Emperor's dream for an uplifted and enlightened humanity. Anyway, thanks for watching. Dystopian Chimp out. Thank you to Memsas for becoming the channel's first official Chimpion. But don't worry, you can join those ranks too by becoming a channel member, with prices starting from just $1 per month. Thank you and bye bye.